does European Union have power to influence the conflict resolution in Syria?
Frankly, I don't think it does. The experience we have of the European Union seeking to do things of this kind is patchy and really not very good at all. And I think it fails on two levels. Firstly, because the European Union itself does not have that sort of clout. People in Syria will be more impressed by Saudi Arabia, by America, by countries rather than groups of countries. But the other thing is, what we're dealing with here is a historic civil war between branches of Islam. Between all sorts of complicated factions. And Western countries have tried again and again to go in and support the good guys and oppose the bad guys. And what we're finally coming to realize is they're all bad guys. There aren't any good guys. You know, again and again we found weapons going to what we thought were the good, reliable rebels, and they become part of ISIS, ISIL, Daesh, whatever we're calling it these days. The thing is a mess. It's impossible to get a grip on, and particularly impossible, I think, for Europe to get a grip on.
Do you support Russian action there? Do you think that Russian strategy is supporting an elected President Assad is the only way to keep Islamic State out of Syria?
No, I don't, because Assad doesn't have support of the people. I think support for Assad will actually drive moderates into the arms of the rebels and the bad guys. I think Russian involvement is very dangerous. What you've got there is you've got the Americans and the Russians both fighting separate wars against separate opponents in the same airspace. And that seems to me to be a recipe for disaster. And really, the Russians are not helpful.
What is the remedy to the conflict? Because unfortunately, the Islamic State is growing.
Well, the question arises whether there is a remedy. You know, we've gone into Iraq, we've gone into Afghanistan, we've gone into Libya. In each case, there were good arguments why we should try and do so, why we should try and extend democracy. In each case, I think it's fair to say that we've failed. And so I think there is a case for saying, look, the West is just not good at resolving these conflicts. If these people are determined to have wars, they're going to have wars. Let them fight to the finish and we'll deal with what's left.
If I may, but there are heavy consequences for the European Union because we see an immense flow of refugees. It's overwhelming because now there are 51 million displaced people along the European borders.
Well, this is a disaster of Europe's making. We have failed to control the borders. We spend money on Frontex. They achieve nothing. We've gone out into the Mediterranean and picked up people from boats, which is good because we don't want people to drown. But then we brought them to Europe. We should have taken them straight back to the Libyan shore they came from. We should be interdicting the boats, preventing the boats from arriving. And within weeks, people would stop paying to travel on boats because the boats would not get through. Equally, Angela Merkel, I was appalled that she virtually said, we'll count everybody as refugees and let them all come. So guess what? They all came. This was a disastrous decision. She should never have done that. We should have been absolutely clear that we would be very, very strict on who, if anyone, was allowed in, and that would have prevented these large numbers of people from coming. We started out with high-flown rhetoric, and within weeks we descended to razor wire. If we'd started out by being firm, we could have had a better outcome.
Are you in support of Australian model towards the refugees?
We are absolutely, in my party, in support of it. We have been talking about the Australian model for immigration based on a cap on immigrant numbers, and within that cap, a point system to ensure that the country gets the skills and the people that it actually needs for its industry. That's what we ought to be doing. That's what we in Britain can't do because the whole European free movement principle drives a coach and horses through any logical immigration plan.